What is potential? Potential is performance minus interference. So for you to perform at your optimum, be it in business, sport, relationships, whatever, is what's in the way of doing it. I have this notion that everything in the world works. What you've got to find is what works for you. And I started looking around. Well, can I read people? So when people said, can you read people? I said, yeah, of course I can. I've already done it.
Where do you think you'd be if you never found that book?
Damn, do you know what? No one's ever asked me that question. We think about this, right? The Earth, in its position in the universe, is exactly the right spot for us to survive.
What would you say the reasons would be why a lot of relationships do fail? Like from your experience in coaching people as well, I'm sure you probably hear a lot of this stuff.
There's three reasons. Number one, communication. Number two, communication. And number three, think about Chelsea, right? From the outside, it looks like a flipping basket case.
If you could change one thing about the education system, what would it be?
From a conspiracy theory point of view, the education system is not broken.
Guys and girls, just a quick one from me. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So please, please, please do us a massive favor. Hit the pause button now. Go and just hit subscribe on YouTube. It will help us so much. We're trying to get bigger and better guests. We're investing into the content. So do us that favor and we'll show you all the love in the world. Thank you. Welcome back to another episode of the Multipliers Club. Today we're joined by another very special guest, performance psychologist, public speaker, speaking for the likes of TEDx, and mentor, sales expert. The list goes on.
Used to be.
Fellow founders member.
And a fellow founders member, exactly.
Yeah,
so thank you very much, Baiju Solanki, for joining us.
Well, thanks for that. I
Thank you
really
for coming on,
appreciate it.
mate.
No worries. A bit short notice, but it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's
Like
that
it.
opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah,
As always, we've pretty much filmed a whole podcast before pressing the record button to start a podcast. But as I just said, there's I guess psychology, the performance psychology ties into just about all of the other.
Yeah.
That's kind of your main focus,
It is,
is it? That bounces off everything.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with that? Is that a formal education or is that self-taught?
It is, yeah. Again, that was by accident. You know, living in a sort of in an Indian household, there's only really sort of 5 jobs we were allowed to have: doctor, pharmacist, shopkeeper, engineer, and accountant. So I grew up in the mindset thinking, well, that's the only choices I had. So I actually, my first degree is in maths, a maths stats computing degree. That's what I went into. I realised very early on in the first year, I thought, this is not for me, but what can I do? And I was in the library. This is before the internet and you search. It was literally in the library and there was a book there. I picked this book up and I started reading it. And it was the first book I read on my own accord, cover to cover. And it was a book on body language by Alan Pease. It's like the god of body language. And I was fascinated by, you can actually understand people's behaviours and what they think and by their body language. I was fascinated. And then I started reading a few other books about psychology. I thought, this is what I want to do. And literally within a couple of days of that discovery, I went to my tutor. I said, look, I want to transfer. I don't want to do this degree. I want to do a psychology degree. I didn't tell my parents. Fucking didn't tell my parents. And they said, well, and they were saying about if you don't finish the course, you've got to pay your fees and all the rest of it. So I was doing a degree. And then they said, look, if you transfer onto the H&D one more year, you're deemed to finish a course, but then you don't have to pay the fees. You know, and I said, all right, I'll tolerate another year. So I did that, transferred, and then I did a degree in psychology and I loved it. And then after I transferred, I told my parents, right? And my dad was like, questioned a little bit, all right, but my mum was like devastated. She goes, because she knows if you do an accounting degree, you can become an accountant.
Yeah.
If you do an engineering degree, you can become an engineer. If you do a medicine degree, you become a doctor. She goes, psychology, what, in Indian, she swore, what fucking job can you get with psychology degree? And I gave her the worst. I said, I don't know. She went, oh my God, my son's going to do this degree and end up on the thing. And then my first job was a psychology lecturer. So I used to teach in an FE college. So and the rest is history.
What would you say then? There's always this debate, I guess, between formal education and self-taught education. So psychology, I'm guessing it's something you've continued to learn yourself. Would you say you've learnt more from that formal education in psychology or afterwards self-taught?
100% in life. Psychology, the education for me sort of gave me a foundation of understanding principles of psychology, right? But, you know, my life experiences, businesses, you know, marriage, going through divorce, having kids, different failed businesses, corporate life, all of that, you know, interacting people teaches more. I might have a slight different more insight because I understand some of the fundamentals. but that's it. It doesn't make you any better or worse. It just gives you another toolkit. So, so no, I reckon the informal experiences of life and business teach me more about psychology. But yeah. So
Do you think psychology's changed since you?
Yeah, thing with psychology, when you're learning psychology, it's very dry. It's a very psychology in itself is really about proving or disproving hypotheses and theories. You know, if you do this, does a behavior turn into this? So it doesn't. Psychology itself doesn't really help you in real life. What was the turning point for me is when I discovered coaching, and I was one of the first who took. There was a coaching academy founded in 2001. That's when coaching came into the UK. It was one of the first schools, and I was like the second cohort. And I went to this weekend, as you do, and in Reading, it was in Reading, and a couple of guys, the psychology coaching lecturers there, doing their thing. And as they started speaking about different types of coaching methodology, I thought, wow, this is a practical application for everything I knew in psychology, that I've learned in psychology. Because in psychology itself, it doesn't help you operate in life. You might understand things, but it doesn't help you in life generally.
What would you say it was all those years ago? What drew you to psychology? Like, what stood out for you?
Do you know, up to when childhood was great. You know, there was no sort of massive issues in terms of like, you know, trauma. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor, right? So, and especially in sort of coming from an Asian background, education is not what university wasn't an option. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
Right? And if you didn't go to university, you had a shop. And that was it, right? Okay, right. Or on the buses or something, I don't know, right? So it wasn't an option. So it was also one of those 5, you know, accountant or engineer or doctor. So up to discovering that book, I thought, well, that's what you do. So I did maths thinking I'd get into accountancy, knowing didn't know it now, you know, there's a complete disconnect. And then when I picked up the book, it was the first time that, wow, this is really interesting. Right. So what I discovered was I loved this, and no teacher told me to read the book. I wasn't forced upon me. It wasn't saying that it was homework to do. I didn't want to learn. I was good at physics and maths, but not really in the sort of the humanities. So when I thought, wow, and then I saw this. There was a bit about, you know, if someone folded their arms, it meant this. If someone, you know, put their arm to scratch their head, it meant this. So I started looking at people. Oh, yeah, they're getting defensive. They're getting this. So for all of a sudden, there was an educational insight that I saw a practical application for. Right, and I started looking around. Well, can I read people? So when people said, "Can you read people?" I said, "Yeah, of course I can. I've already done it." And they're so funny. Of course you can't, but you have different insights. That was the fascinating. It's like it was the first time that for me, on my own accord, I was interested in that. Wow, this is what I want to do.
It's so fascinating because we recently done an NLP course, right? And we learned about eye language. If somebody looks down to the left when you ask them a question, they're having, I think it's an emotional recollect.
Yeah. It's whether you look up there, look down, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, is it up left? If someone looks up and left, they're lying, or up and right, they're lying.
Again, it's the way NLP is it's a tool. That's the thing about NLP, right? It's not the thing, it's the tool, and it's the context you use that tool that's the application of it. So you're right, it will give you little modalities about if you look up there, it means you're coming from the emotional side or sort of the logical side. But then in the context of someone might say, when you fold your arms, it means this. Well, it doesn't always mean that. It just means I'm just sort of comfortable now. Yeah. Like, not automatically getting defensive. So it's the context of everything that goes on. But NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a fantastic tool. But it's a tool. It can be used in a really good way or not so in a good way.
It's true. Like sometimes now, since I've done the NLP, if I'll be standing there comfortably with my arms crossed, but I'm actually really interested in what the person's saying. But then I think, maybe the impression I'm giving is that I'm not. So then
it makes you more aware, doesn't it, of like your body language for sure. Where do you think you'd be if you never found that book?
Do you know what? No one's ever asked me that question. You are the first person ever to ask me that question. And I have not even asked that myself. Fucking hell. Where would I be if I didn't discover that book? Shit, I don't know. Some proxy accounting firm. I don't know. Mate, I don't know. That's a different... I've never been asked that question. No, and I've never even considered it myself. What if I didn't go to that day in that library.
If the book weren't there, where you saw
If the
it
book
at that
wasn't there,
moment
if I didn't go to the library that day,
There's so many different
little siding. That's a great question. Where would I be? Okay, the way I look at life is there would have been some other incident that happened that drew me to psychology.
Are you quite spiritual?
I'm spiritual to the point whereby I believe in energy. Everything's connected with energy, right? And there's something else out there. It can't be just this physical domain that we're in and everything happens. You know, we think about this, right? The Earth, in its position in the universe, is exactly the right spot for us to survive. 5% close to the sun would burn. 5% away from the sun would probably freeze. Why is everything so convenient in terms of how plants are grown? So if you put the right amount of soil and water to a certain seed, it will grow a certain amount.
It's mad.
Why does the body heal itself in a certain way? Do you get what I'm saying? You know, if you cut here, we sort of know without anything else. If we cut our finger now, as long as we hold it tight and all the rest of it, eventually the body will heal the cut. If you break our hand or break our arm, we know, put a cast on it, keep it still, 6 weeks later, it will heal.
This is why I say to people, like, limited beliefs are actually bonkers, because you're telling me all of these different things for billions of years, the whole universe, the et cetera, all the way up to where we are now. Yeah. And yet you're saying you've just randomly put this threshold to say, oh, but this is as far as I can take it.
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
You're the crazy one.
Like we talked about earlier, whereby you have certain preconceptions of when we can go for partnerships, right? But there were your preconceptions. Well, we need X, Y, Z before we can do A. Well, no, you can do A now. Really? Oh, okay. And just looking at it differently. Think about limited beliefs as this, right? Is I have this notion that everything in the world works. Everything out there works. Every marketing strategy works. Every dating tactic works. Every way of making money works. What you've got to find is what works for you. Right? No one can say here, oh, Facebook ads is a waste of time, never worked for me. Well, no, it works. It just didn't work for you because either your mindset was wrong or your strategy was wrong or your information was wrong. Does that make sense? Oh, going on this dating app doesn't work. Online dating doesn't work. Well, it does because we've got evidence for it. It just didn't work for you. So part of limited beliefs is we confuse opinion with truth. And there's two levels. There's three levels. There's opinion, there's truth, and there's absolute truth. Right? There's opinion, which is based on your stuff, and then we sometimes, and that's where people don't often succeed where they want to succeed, because they made a load of decisions on some opinions that they turn into truths. A bit like the thing we talked about earlier. Then you got a truth. The truth is, oh yeah, you know, paid advertising works, or you know, if you commit to a goal and you stay on one course, eventually you'll get it. You're right, but absolute truth is something that's irrespective of opinion, irrespective of age, irrespective of resources, that it is. So, will the sun rise tomorrow morning? That's an absolute truth. There's nothing we can do to control that. And the only reason we know it's an absolute truth, because it's happened before, and based on the science we know, taking away flat earth theory, but that's a different conversation, the sun will rise. And then it's about putting ourselves, so you're 100% right, limited beliefs is something we put on ourselves.
How do you feel that someone who struggles with limiting beliefs can try and get over those limiting beliefs if they've had years of no real self-development track record? Like, what would your message be to them?
It's a great question. Think about this, right? It's all learnt behavior, and it's a message we're giving ourselves, right? And I have this thing about limited beliefs hinders your potential, right, to be the person that you want to be, right? So what is potential? Potential is performance minus interference. So for you to perform at your optimum, be it in business, sport, relationships, whatever, is what's in the way of doing it. Let's take relationships. You're not great at a relationship because the interference is lack of communication. Yeah? Stay in communication, things might happen. In business, the interference is, oh, I'm not good enough. I haven't got enough money. We're not successful enough. So take those interferences away, what's left? So it's identifying that interference. So when someone has a limiting belief, it's coming across those assumptions. So potential, the other thing about potential is this, is we don't know how good we are. Only someone else can see. I can see more potential in you than you know than yourself. You see more potential in me than I see in myself. Only someone else can see that, right? And the only way to really understand, to get rid of your limited beliefs, is say to someone else, right, knowing what you know about me, what would you say I should be focusing on? What should I be thinking if I didn't have the limiting beliefs that you think I have? And see what they say. Oh, you could do this, you could do that. Yeah, but you don't understand. Because they go into what they call their story. Everybody's got a story, and the story keeps you where you are, and it keeps you safe. Because imagine this. Imagine you had a way of, today, I'm not going to be my limiting beliefs. I'm going to make that phone call. I'm going to speak to that person. I'm going to take that action that's outside of my comfort zone. Is what then may come available could be really good, right? They said yes. You get that deal. The opportunity comes. Now you've got to show up, right? You've got to step up. Now, if I step up, will I be found out? If I step up, is there more chance of failure? Because there's a greater height there. So all that stuff comes in. So even though people might be aware of their limiting beliefs, they will give the story. So because they can get rid of their limiting beliefs, or to a certain extent, but if they do, it means they've got to step up.
It's just how they justify to themselves why they're not going to do it, really, isn't it?
Exactly. And you can, all right, there's a lot, we know all people. I'm sure you've got your group, your social friends, you start talking about your stuff and businesses. I'm sure you've got guys who are not in business who've got a job, right? And they probably complain all the time, right? They just live for Friday night, right? And then they start complaining 2 o'clock on a Sunday about work, right? So they've got that window to live for. And then maybe 2 weeks in Ibiza or wherever, right? And the rest of the time, because they're keeping this, the story keeps them safe. Because if they have to step out, it's like, whoa, where do I show up now? What do I have to do?
I think it's so important having the right people around you as well, though. Like, with that potential, if it's us boys, we'll sit down and literally we'll have conversations where I'm like, no, trust me, like, just go at it. You boys have already ticked all the boxes. You can just level it up. And you've got each other to bounce off and inspire. Whereas I think there's a lot of friendships where they probably shut you down a little bit or negative, and the people around you, your friends, family, they're not going to help inspire you. So what about?
Because they want to keep you safe as well, don't they? Like,
well, there's two things. It's not a question they want to keep. They do want to keep you safe, but also imagine that one broke the mold. Do you know what? I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to start my thing. On the surface, you sure, mate? Don't get hurt. What if you failed? All the rest of it. But part of them is a reflection on them. Because if they had the same story as me, now they're actually going to follow their dreams. What does that make me? So it shows up more in them in terms of what they may or may not be doing.
I've experienced this firsthand recently with a family member who I feel like was more comfortable with me when I wasn't being as successful as I am now.
Right.
And I've always heard about entrepreneurs saying successful ones, when you get to a certain level, people they start to hate on you. I never believed it. I was like, oh, my friends and family are really supportive. But I've actually experienced now firsthand, when you become a better person, you start looking after your family, financially, spiritually, everything else. Hate does eventually come. And it's sometimes from people where it hurts a lot because they've seen you grow up. Have you ever experienced that yourself? And if so, how have you dealt with it?
I'll tell you what, hate doesn't come. It's just...
More jealousy, I'd say.
No, there's no noise. There's no acknowledgement. Right? You don't get the likes, the little DMs from your family. Oh, well done. That's really good. Right? So it's not as if they hate on you. They just don't acknowledge. So as I was growing, doing my business, getting things done, launching my book, like this community, you launched your book, well done, bestseller, this and that, really good, congratulations, all over social. But you don't necessarily get that acknowledgement from what your friends and families. And I learned very early on, let's not make them wrong. Don't make them wrong. Right, that person, for whatever reason, is doing what they're doing. Right, deep down, it just shows more up in what they may not be exercising, or what they may not be doing, as opposed to hating you. Because it shows the more you grow, the more you succeed, the more you're out there, the more you got a smile on your face, the more you can, the more you are actually delivering on what you claimed to deliver 3 years ago. It shows more in them where they're not. So my message to you is: don't hate on them. Don't pity them. Don't feel sorry for them. Just say, do you know what? That's fine. Because what you don't want, there might be a day they knock on your door and say, do you know what, mate? I need your help. How'd you do it? And if you say, well, what, you need my help now? Where were you 3 weeks ago? Is the best thing you can do is, yeah, mate, anytime. What do you want? So I don't ever want to make any of my friends and family wrong, because there might be a day that they will seek my counsel to say, listen, I really need some help here. And I'm not going to say, well, sorry, mate. No way. And they know this. And there are some family and friends that might be listening to now that there's a few family members who have stepped out their corporate life, stepped out of job and done their businesses, and they've privately seek my counsel. And I'm from, yeah, do you know what? Happy days. I had a restaurant, right? A restaurant 10 years ago. It's completely out of my comfort zone. A mate of mine said to me, he had a freehold of a restaurant where the A1 license where you can serve food, and the current restaurant owner did a runner. So he's got this unit there, and he's sitting there like this on the sofa. He goes, Baiju, should we open a restaurant? I said, no chance. No, I'm doing my thing. I'm all right. 2 days later, and he goes, oh, another mate goes, he's up for it. Come on, 3 of us, it'd be great. I said, fucking no. 10 weeks later, we've opened a restaurant, right, in South, an Indian restaurant, Saffron Lounge, all the rest of it. And it was good. It was like, we did that thing. We were sort of known as the Free Essex Boys and doing a bit of Indian and all the rest of it. And we did. It was really good. And I got one family member messaging me, mate, because he was in corporate, right, and he's in hospitality, and his dream was to open his own restaurant. He DM'd me, he goes, I saw you got a restaurant. Wow, well done. How'd you do it? He's seeking my counsel, congratulating me, checking in with me every other week. How's it going? All the rest of it. All the other family members, they never wish bad on me. They never wish me bad. But there wasn't that overboard of acknowledgement, right? When they saw me, congratulations, well done. And they came to the restaurant, obviously. So, don't make your family and friends wrong. Don't, right? They're going through their own journey. Support them. They support you secretly. So when I got my book, what I did do is went around every family member and gave them a copy of my book, a signed copy, and they were great. They were really congratulated. So I get what you're coming from. Just don't make wrong that person.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I think because we're all still so young, we're learning more stuff every single day.
Yeah,
we didn't start doing well until realistically probably about a year ago.
Yeah,
and that's 5 years deep into a business venture.
Yeah,
it's interesting as well because I've definitely become a better person from doing better. I give back to my mum. I make sure she's okay. I'm trying to become a better person in every single aspect of my life. And someone said, I can't remember who said this, but money amplifies you. So if you're a bit of a dick naturally, you get money, you become a bigger dick. If you're a good person, you get money, you become a better person.
100%.
Do you agree with that as well?
100%, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's resources, wherever you are at your core, it amplifies that thing, right? So if you're naturally a generous person, right, with more money, you become more generous. If you're naturally a tight person, more money, you're just going to be tighter. That's all. It's just more frugal around it or whatever it is. So, no, 100% agree, because at your core, you are who you are. Can people change? 100%. But they've got to be willing to. There's self-awareness and self-control. And, I went for a massive change years. When I got divorced, it was a massive identity crisis for me, because all of a sudden I'm this person who is out there claiming to change people's worlds, and then my life's a shit show. So I felt hypocritical in terms of what we're doing. So when you say about whatever amplifies you, and what amplified for me is actually there's some fundamental things that I thought I was addressing in my life that I wasn't, and when I start to have that level of self-awareness and self-criticism, why did my marriage break down? What happened? What was I blind to? What was I ignoring? Whether it's subconsciously or consciously, that meant it got to the point where I was a main breadwinner, that my then wife, at the time when she said it was over, I was like, and I said, look, let's try and fix it. Let's make it work. She said, well, no, I don't want to fix something I don't want. I blamed her. How can you not give me another chance? How can you do this? But subsequently through the years, I realised actually she was giving me a chance. She was giving me signs, but I wasn't reading them, right? I was blind to what was going on. And when it was too late, it was too late. And then it took me a good probably 18 months, 2 years of self-reflection, self-analysis to think, actually, mate, you're the reason that happened. Yeah, the 6 of one, half and dozen the other, but you've got to take 100% responsibility of it. So where do you need to change to make that those things don't happen? And it was just like, actually, I'm preaching things to the world, going to do my coaching workshops, that really, but I'm only practicing 50% of it. So what does that make me? So right now, hand on my heart, if you're a fly on the wall in my life, 95% of what I preach, I practice.
It's quite an interesting take, actually, because I feel like having a good relationship in business definitely, it helps me. What would you say the reasons would be why a lot of relationships do fail? Like from your experience in coaching people as well, I'm sure you probably hear a lot of this stuff.
There's 3 reasons. Number 1, communication. Number 2, communication. And number 3, communication. Right? And that's for everything. right? When you're not in communication, there's 3 levels, right? We're not talking about communication whereby you're saying and they're listening. Being in communication. So you're, and I talk about this in business as well, is when you're speaking to someone, speak to them with the intent of thinking, I'm speaking to you. But also, when you're listening with the intent of not responding, but listening, right? And also, listen from the context of how they believe you are listening. What's the response? And this is what I train with business people. Is like, when someone's talking to you, are you talking to respond? Are you replying to respond, sorry? Are you replying to look to be right? Right? So when you're communicating, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about understanding, well, what's the end goal here for this discussion? I'm really listening. That's how you feel. Okay. And they might say, I would like X, Y, Z. Okay. The context of that, where that's coming from. So it's having that constant audit and constant communicating. And there's a level of communication that goes beyond just talking, where you're listening for growth. You're really listening to your partner, to your girlfriend, and saying, okay, look, I'm not in a relationship at the moment, right? But if you're in one, I have this commitment, right? Which I wish I did in my previous relationships. Is we have a monthly audit. In the last month, what did I do that made you feel loved? What did I do that didn't make you feel loved? What can I change? And when you ask and then shut up. And just listen and allow them to say without interrupting, and take it on board. And that's what with anything, whether it's relationships or business. If you think about, how do you feel when somebody hasn't responded or come back to you, whether there's a bit of a ghosting or they've not come back to you in the time that they say? It just feels frustrating, isn't it? Whether it's a WhatsApp chat, the worst thing is the blue tick and nothing, right? It's like, well, hang on, why is that? Because we always think that if it's a blue tick, you respond straight away. So communication is key, and it's understanding, listening with not the intent of replying, but listening with the intent of listening deeply and saying, okay, what is this person actually saying, and how can I respond in a way that grows us both?
How do people take to that? I feel like if you're in business, those sort of things just make sense. Frameworks and, like you said, a monthly audit, it just makes sense. But for people that aren't in business, do they not just get their back up thinking this is just weird or?
Yeah, because they don't understand the context, because they're coming from
not even just, sorry to interrupt, not even just in general around everything, whether it's your health, fitness, relationships, everything, finances, investment, goals, everything. I feel like if you're entrepreneurial, these things just make sense. And to people that aren't, it's the opposite. It doesn't make sense. It's a bit weird. It's too structured. Because
when you said earlier about they've not done some personal development, right? So when in school, we're taught all these subjects: physics, maths, chemistry, geography, which is all great, right? And reading and writing, but no one's taught communication. No one's taught emotions. No one's taught how to listen, right? Sit down, shut up, listen to the teacher, right? Do this work, all the rest of it. You get rewarded if you get an A, right? If you've written the essay, right? And you're right. So when you start putting frameworks around communication, the amount of leadership development I go into corporates and do, but I go in there saying, you know what, this is not conventional leadership. This is about coaching. This is like, we're going to talk about something, and then I want you to apply this in a real aspect in your business right now. So when your next meeting, listen this way. So you're right. You say, okay, well, the question to say, well, the way you're currently operating in your normal life, is it working for you? Is it working for you? If it is, jog on. Don't complain. If it's not, consider there might be a different way. It might look like a framework. It might look like do A and then B and then C. But don't judge the vehicle of the framework. Judge the outcome. So if say a marriage is not working, she does this, he does this. Okay, would you consider another way of approaching it that you don't even believe could even work, let alone know about? So, well, you can carry on, or you can consider another way. So they've got to be open up to the context of there is another way. We know what we know, correct? Mm-hmm. We know what we don't know, correct? We don't know what we don't know. Tell me something you don't know. You just can't, can you?
It's a trap.
Yeah.
So most people operate from the premise, I know what I know what I don't know, and you're arrogant enough to think that nothing else exists. And that's where personal development gives you. And that's why, for me, although I've been doing this all of my life, it's only in the last 6-7 years there's been an exponential growth for me because my self-awareness has gone to another level.
How do you help inspire people to, okay, I know people need to want to change, but I think especially for a lot of our listeners, you're not going to be listening to a podcast unless you've got something in you. But a lot are probably maybe not fully practicing personal development or are still getting held back in one area of their life. How do you try to break habits themselves if they want to take control of their life and get started?
It's a bit like what you said there. You said, like, if they don't want to, it's really hard because they're so invested in their story. They're so invested in their opinion that it's hard to break through. And all you can go do is, do you know what? Is it working for you? Yeah. No, it isn't. But no, it isn't. But no, it isn't. But okay. And there's a point whereby, okay, well, I'm gonna encourage you and sort of nudge you. But there comes a line where if this is taking me more energy than you, the balance is off. Right? So there's an element whereby I know you're willing, but you're scared to step over the line. You're scared to step. So I'm willing to stay in the course as long as you're willing to give it a go. It's micro actions every day, micro leaning in. But they're constantly staying on that fence, and you're pushing. Whether it's an employee, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business associate. There's a point where you say, "This is not working for me now," because the energy that I'm putting in this for thinking that you should change, you could change, because it will help you, but you're not even willing to give an inch. Nah, you walk away.
Interesting.
Do you think some people are just so far down a rabbit hole of not changing that you just can't help them? Or do you feel like everyone can change?
Yes and no. Yes, because they're so far down that rabbit hole, they can't see the light. So there's an element whereby you might, as the person who they're reaching out to, might have to walk closer towards and be like what you're saying to here, where you bring the torch to them. Look, there is light, right? But there's only so far I can bring this light. For you to carry on seeing this light, because I'm going to come away, you've got to come this way. And you've got to trust, you've got to have faith and no belief. Meaning, there's got to be an element whereby you, like you say, they're so far down a rabbit hole, is they're not going to change. They can change. But what they've got to be willing is trust without evidence. Right? Faith is trust in the process. Where imagine an alcoholic they're functioning alcoholic, and there's a point whereby something happened, they think, I can't do this no more. When they go to the 12-step program, they don't know what to expect. They've got to trust this process works, and there will be a day I can live without alcohol. But at that point they walk in that room, they probably can't see it. They're just trusting, do you know what, I can't do any more. I don't know what else to do, but I'm going to trust this process, and hopefully it works for me. That's the mindset you've got to go into, not thinking, well, show me the evidence that when I do ABC, that I'm going to get it. No, it doesn't work like that. Because sometimes, get this, right? There might be 5 steps to the change. But step 3 doesn't become available until you take step 1. So you want me to tell you 5 steps, but hang on, we don't know step 3 until you take step 1.
Yeah, it almost makes me think that when you actually analyse a lot of entrepreneurs, they're the ones that academically might not be as advanced as other people in school. Like, for example, I didn't do great in school at all. And I always felt like the really smart kids, they had it all figured out, They went on to uni and I was thinking, oh my God, these guys are smashing it. But now I see where some of that they are, what they're doing now. They're just like, they're not doing anything. Whereas, the kids that were a little bit more naughty in school, don't get me wrong, some of them probably, I could imagine, went on to achieve nothing. But a lot of the people who were naughty in school are now the business owners. Yeah. Do you think it's because they think less about what could go wrong? I don't know.
Not necessarily, the thing is, we label it naughty, but it might be an element whereby their attention wasn't directed, whether it's ADHD, whether it's other elements, or whether it's just basically no one paid them attention, no one gave them, because it's easy to pay attention to the kid who's going to get the A grade and lean into it, because the school is measured on the league table, right? So it's like, the league table is more important. So the little Johnny there is not doing so well. We could put in that all the effort and he still get a C. So I saw that. I'd rather get this A grade, this B student onto an A. So there's an element of that. And it's very easy to sort of generalise the naughty kids and the one who don't pay attention did really well. There's some people who, way back when, academia was the thing that we thought that was the heuristic of being successful. Because otherwise, it's a shopkeeper, a bus driver, a Tesco. Nothing wrong with bus drivers, nothing wrong with people at Tesco, but you get what I'm saying. But now with the advent of the internet and social media and opportunity and understanding more Like the education you guys get in terms of when you turn on your phone wasn't available. I'm 53. Wasn't available to me at that. We had four channels. Remember 4 channels? Do you remember time before Wi-Fi?
I do. Yeah.
Like just.
Yeah.
But not in your living area, right? I remember time.
I remember 5 channels.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Right. But very quickly, when you got into sort of teenage adulthood, the world opened up.
Yeah.
Right. So the opportunity now in terms of people saying school isn't that essential. I would never, my kids, right? Only one has gone to uni. When they were growing up, my parents were like, why don't you, they have to go uni. I said, no, whatever they want to do, they're making that. We'll encourage them. Uni means this means this, right? Not good or bad. It's just different, right? And I'd never force them to go uni, right? They made their choice. I said, at the end of the day, we will support you, but you are the result of your choices. So you can't complain what choices you didn't take if the opportunity was there, okay? And so going back to your question about academia and entrepreneurship, yeah, there might be naughty kids and education, but there's certain professions now you have to go uni. Medicine. Would you want a doctor treating you if they went to medical school?
Definitely
No,
not.
exactly.
No.
But would you want a marketer doing your social media ads if they didn't do a marketing degree, but they've created 5 YouTube channels and got 1 million views?
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So the context of education is different. It's understanding that.
If you could change one thing about the education system, what would it be?
So I'm gonna answer that question before I give you a premise. The assumption on that question is it's broken, right? So I worked a lot in schools. I did some stuff that I do now in schools, right? And from a conspiracy theory point of view, the education system is not broken. They want it like this. Imagine everybody follow their dreams. Who drove the buses? Who would sweep up the streets? Do you get what I'm saying?
Society just wouldn't be society, would it?
It would be a different society, very different. So on one level, my theory is the education system isn't broken. Is it fit for purpose? Absolutely not. Right? And I would advocate, people like we know this, the entrepreneurs that we know, Simon Squigg, Rob Moore, Daniel Peace, all these people talk about the education system needs to talk about how entrepreneurship, emotions, personal development, growth mindset, all these things that we get exposed to, that your guests talk about on your podcast and what we go on to when we listen to all podcasts and stuff on YouTube and our social media, is what should be taught in Instagram. Imagine the curriculum was how to earn enough money to buy your own house, how to develop a property portfolio, where to invest money, how to deal with emotions, how to communicate with your parents, how to and all these sort of things alongside the normal subjects. Imagine the society would be fantastic. Think about education. In Eastern philosophy, education was done on mastery, meaning if a child woke up in the day and they were 7 years old and said, oh, I want to learn pottery, they would then say, let's master pottery. And they would learn maths through pottery. Yeah. They would learn coordination through pottery. They would learn communication through pottery. Do you get what I'm saying? So they take a subject area and learn all the other aspects on it. So that's whereas with generalized education, we know a little bit about everything, and then you're left with this. So to answer your question, I will change it in terms of everything that we learn in terms of entrepreneurship now is how you change the system. But it won't happen ever, because the people who empower don't believe it's broken.
I think that opportunity, if you're a young person now, is just crazy though, because even when I was coming out of school, Instagram was only just starting up, so you had Facebook, but Facebook didn't really see it as like somewhere you learn from, like an educational place at the time. Whereas Instagram now, like I remember when I was 13, I was trying to get a paper round, went and got a paper round, went and got another paper round. But now we've got 13-year-olds that are applying for jobs for our marketing company. They will message you. They didn't want a job. They're working for themselves already.
Do you know my greatest research tool is? TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
I go on TikTok to research any AI, anything entrepreneurship. I go on TikTok because I think TikTok, the way algorithm works, I go obviously search the thing I'm looking for and
search it to you, doesn't it?
Search it 3 or 4 times. TikTok think, oh, it needs more of that. So then my feed curates. I was into crypto about a year ago, right? My whole feed was on crypto stuff. Yeah. Right? Now it's AI, lots of AI or AI stuff. So TikTok's a great,
you can make it work for you, or you can make it work for you,
definitely.
right? If you use it the right way.
So just changing it up a bit, your books, you've wrote two.
I've written.
I saw co-author books. How does that work? I've never even heard of.
Yeah. So I've written an ebook was my first book.
Yeah.
Then I wrote a self-published book called "I'm an Entrepreneur, Get Me Out of Here," right? Which I interviewed a load of entrepreneurs, transcribed it, and turned it into a book. And then my three other books, excuse me, called "Change Your Game," which I published, and "Play Your Game," and then "Win Your Game" is like a planner. And I've co-authored about 7-8 books. The way a co-author works is someone might say, right, we're going to write a book on leadership, then they might search out 10 people who say, give me one chapter on leadership, your take on it, and then you're a co-author. You could co-author a book, right? You could go to, here's an idea, get everyone who's done the podcast, so can you write, just say, can you verbalize to me your 10, I don't know, tips or something. You can verbalize it, you transcribe that on ChatGPT, you create the Multipliers podcast book.
That's cool. That's a great idea. We should
Right?
do that.
Yeah.
Right, you heard it here first, right? You
I can see the front page of that book already.
Yeah, and you could get that within, what's today? Well, today's end of August, right? That could be out.
Asia just wants to be another co-author
You
again.
can, yeah. That could be. You've already got the content there. Think about it. You don't have to go to you can go to your podcast, say, right, let's take, transcribe it, take the 10 tips or something from each one. There's your podcast, there's your multiplier book.
That's cool.
That's a fucking good
I've
idea.
And that's a lead gen.
Think about Fathom, the note taker that does our meetings.
Oh,
Imagine
game
if he's got
changer.
that to do it for the
That can
podcast.
Do you know a
See
great
what comes
thing
out
about
with.
Fathom, right? A great way to use Fathom to create ads, right? So someone said to me, I've got a tech company now, so we're launching a tech an app for bookkeepers, which is different. But the thing is this is we're going to be doing beta testing over the next few weeks, right? And we've got a launch specialist. He says, right, what you're going to do is the beta testers, get them on Zoom, record the Fathom, and then go through the software and beta test with them. And they will tell you, that's really good. Or, when I pressed that button, I thought that was going to happen. And you want them to just explain to you what's really good about the software and what's not good about the software so that you can make the changes, right? Then take that transcript of Fathom, put it in ChatGPT, and tell ChatGPT, based on this transcript, create Facebook ads on the good and the things about our software that's really good, because it's coming from the voice of a user, and then use that to create ads.
Whoa.
Right, I'm
That's
right.
deep.
Clever.
Ad copy, and then obviously you do A/B testing and do whatever, and also it will create highlight the things that this thing needs addressing. And sometimes when sometimes you do adverts whereby what it doesn't do, and that's what gets people in. So that's a great hack in terms of using that copy.
What do you use AI for?
Everything. I use it mainly as an assistant. So I might put something in there. I've got an idea. What do you think of it?
What do you mainly use? What platforms?
I got ChatGPT 4.0, Claude AI, and Gemini.
What's Claude AI?
Claude is the same as ChatGPT, but it's a different language model. But it's free, but it's as good as ChatGPT 4.0, which is the paid version. And Gemini is the Google version of AI. So if you got a Gmail account, if you logged into your Gmail account and go into Gemini, it will know who you are, because it takes all your Google if you got stuff on your Drive, Google Sheet, so it knows who you are, and you can start saying, look, I've got this in my Drive. I've written a few weeks ago, whatever. Can you just give me some, and it will start developing stuff from it.
Really?
Maybe AI, right? AI is this, right? AI is just curating content that has been fed in the past. But because it's, with human memory and it doesn't organize it well. So it organizes it really well. So the key with AI is use it as an assistant, not as a replacement. So I've spent days saying, right, I put this in there. I might be a business plan or a business vision, and ask it a question. What about this? What would I do this? If I was this, put AI in a position of who you want it to be, and say, if you knew this, what would be the question? And just continually prompt it.
Yeah, I love it. I use it every day as well. Sometimes I'm sitting there trying to work something out, and then after a couple of minutes, I'm like, oh wait, I could just get ChatGPT to help me with this, because I've already got the idea of whatever it is. Just need that extra, make it better.
And there's so many tools out there that use ChatGPT and others as the foundation model. So there's a website called futurepedia.ai, and it basically got every AI tool out there, and it's like a directory. And it tells you the 10 tools released today. There's like tools released every single day.
It's crazy. I think for me, Fathom's the biggest game changer I've ever experienced. I only downloaded it Friday last week.
And it's free. I've been using it for 6-7 months.
Yeah, like sales guys by nature are really bad at note taking.
Okay.
Right? So like me being one of them.
Yeah.
I'll have a really good conversation with a prospect and then I'll go into another call and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't write notes.
Yeah.
But Fathom, you just go on the profile, it documents everything.
That's exactly.
Even takes you to the point in the conversation that you like. When it writes the notes out, there's a way you can click on the link and it will take you to that part of the conversation to tell you that bit.
It even
and
tells
it summarizes the content.
Yeah.
But if you cut and paste that into ChatGPT or Claude and say, all right, based on this transcript, can you give me the 10 sales training techniques, can you design a 1-hour training session for my guys?
And it does that.
Yeah.
It's just like, that blows my mind.
Right. So then you can use that. Oh, okay. Can you give me 5 activities to demonstrate that technique in terms of sales that I can show my sales guys in my next training session?
Yeah. Wow.
I need to be tapping into it more.
Like Fathom for you would be perfect as well.
I know, because I'm the same. I don't take notes, and then I'll get there. I think, damn it, who was this? And they're asking like, what was this? And it's impressive how much is in my head, but at the same time, that's a terrible way to be because it's.
The thing with AI is this, right? You're either a creator or a consumer, right? And you could decide which side of the fence you want to be. You're going to be the consumer of everything that's been created using AI, or you're going to be something that's at the forefront of, I'm going to look at my business and what things can I create using AI that's going to enhance my business, optimize it in certain ways, etc. You know, I've got a new tech business that I took over 5-6 months ago, and it's been going for 7 years. They're based in India. I took it over, and we're creating our own language models to develop systems for our clients, because we've got this one app that helps accountants and bookkeepers scan all their PDFs, but in such a way it's clean and it sends it anywhere. So there's no human intervention. But the software needed to read that is a certain AI language model. Like, I'm not a techie, so if I'm saying anything wrong, don't DM me for that. But from what I understand, is that we have to create our own language model so we get consistent results coming out all the time. And what I'm learning about AI is it's like anything that's come about, that when you are unaware of the power of it, you just think it must be X or Z. It's not. It's a great assistant. If you use it right way, and the more you use it, the more you will not be able to use it. It's like Wi-Fi. There'll be a point whereby you can't live without it.
Yeah.
What do you think the dangers could be for businesses that don't adapt with AI over the next 5 years?
Well, it's not in the next 5 years, next 5 months. Right, next 5 months. I know there's one business I'm working with now. I've just told them about how AI can help their business in one area, which means 2 of their staff won't have that job, right? So what our thinking is, how can we retrain those staff to make sure we don't lose them, but how to re-employ them somewhere else, all right? So the danger is like anything. It's like Darwin said, right? It's the survival of the fittest. It's if you don't change, adapt to change, you won't survive. It's not the most intelligent. It's not the one with the most resources. It's not the one with the most money. It's the one who adapts the quickest and then applies it. They're the one who can survive.
Do you think businesses can survive in the next 5 years with no AI? Obviously, with the exception of like businesses that won't need it. But what were your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really, when you think about it, you're right. There's, what business is not going to benefit from AI in some way? Let's say bus driver. How can a bus driver? Well, how they communicate to customers. It might be how the ticketing system. I don't know. There's every business in somehow will be touched. The level it's going to be touched at. There's some businesses like marketing business can be wholly changed because of AI. There'll be other businesses like a fruit and veg stall that may not be, but in terms of how they take, even buskers are taking payments on contactless.
I know, it's mad,
right? Yeah. You go to Leicester Square, it's like just tap here.
I just don't trust them,
right?
Yeah,
it's like so it's like if a busker can adapt to change, and you've got some business person saying, "Well, I'm not going to," fine. Then there's only one person going to lose. It's you.
Yeah, 100%. I see it as we've been in talks around AI. I see it as an opportunity where, in our industry, I feel like people are probably quite naive, thinking, "Oh, AI won't replace our jobs. They're not going to anytime soon be, doing internal renovations." But actually, by us implementing it for the systems, the processes, the marketing, the sales process, etc., that's just going to give us
absolutely. That's what
it's
how can
advantage.
You're right. How can you speed up the process? How can you make sure that if I do this quicker, it allows us to get more spend our time more and more other clients and getting more clients as opposed to spending, one client, because we've got to do these things, takes us like 5-6 days. But AI allows us to adapt this thing, which means I only spend 3 days, which means you've got more opportunity to get more other clients. So it's different ways of thinking about it.
We're hearing a lot about, regulation with AI. If AI isn't regulated, what type of dangers do you think this could face with, the working economy?
Well, it's like anything, right? It's like how it's like, I've been fortunate enough to be exposed to some cybersecurity stuff because we're working with another business around this, and the amount of regulation you need, you just can't get away with it. So if it's not regulated, it's like anything whereby you talked about NLP earlier, right? And I say it's good or bad. There's people who use NLP in not a good way in terms of persuasive language and manipulation. It's the same as AI, but who's the regulator? If it's government, have they got the expertise? Are they going to bring the expertise in there to regulate in a certain way? So there's going to be some regulation. But the way I look at it now, and from a business level, it's not about using AI in a manipulative way or in a unethical way. It's how can I use AI in a way that means I can serve my customers and run my business more efficiently. That's the question to ask.
Oh, yeah, it just makes you better, more efficient.
Yeah. You've been good with it. To be fair, Luke's adapted AI for the past couple of years. Right. I've been freaked out by it. I'm not going to lie. Really? I'm thinking this thing's going to come for everyone's job. So I started to try and keep away from it. But now I've realised it's just like you said. It's revolutionised how I work every day now.
The more you know about it, the better. Have you heard of Blaze.ai?
I don't think so. No.
Right. You go on Blaze.ai. Right. If you put in, it's a content. You put a YouTube video in there, or any of YouTube, right? It will create content on all different formats in whatever way. Really? It's unbelievable. I'll put it in there, right? Blaze.ai. TikTok, Blaze.ai, right? A lot of people are tapping it in now, right? It's unbelievable in terms of it creates all different types of content. Now, that can save weeks of work. Yeah. Right, Opus is another one. Creates
Opus is great.
Right.
Yeah.
Opus is another one. That's right. Good, So look at Blaze.ai. It will just enhance.
Someone showed me something similar to that the other day. So he runs a content creation agency, and he typed in create a picture of a middle-aged woman getting a facial. It takes 5 seconds. Gave you 6 pictures of a woman getting a facial, and it was an AI image, but it looked so real.
I know.
Couldn't believe my eyes.
I know. It's unreal. And it's not for us to worry about how it works. Don't waste your energy there. It's working. How can this tool work for me? Right? What can I do to enhance it? So if there's a point whereby, oh my God, there's a fear, are you leaning into the fear or leaning away from it? As soon as you lean away from the fear, another 10 people leaning in. So you're always behind the curve. The way time works now, I can't remember the chart, what it's called, where in terms of how things move with time, is if you stand still, you're moving backwards.
Yeah, 100%.
10 years ago, standing still, you're standing still. But now you're standing still, you're moving backwards.
Yeah, 100%. It's like advertising agencies, If you think 20 years ago, it was all newspapers and billboards. Yeah. There's still a slight market for that, but everything's digital now. So
massively digital.
Have to adapt.
100%. So yeah, that's good.
So how can... Oh, God, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, just unless you've got something still on this topic, I didn't actually ask around your books. Obviously, you've wrote lots of books, but what's the key factors, the message that you try to get out across your books?
So the book I wrote, which is my baby, which is my first book was properly published, called Change Your Game, right? And for me, life's a game. That's how I look at it. For life's a game, right? And there's 3 games that we need to conquer. There's the inner game, which is the mindset stuff. So the stuff that we all talk about, and the stuff that you say, when we grow ourselves, when we're sort of investing in ourselves, we're exposed to different ways of thinking that somebody who may not be exposed to think, what's all these frameworks about? So understanding your inner game. So that's game number 1. The game of life. And the second game is the game plan. So it's like the strategy, the tactics, the roadmap that you exercise. And those roadmaps and strategies are going to make or break you. And the third game is the outer game, which is the actions. Like everybody takes action. The very fact you're sitting here, you've taken some action because you're sitting here, because you were in bed. You got up, you got dressed, brushed your teeth, whatever, and you got here. But the difference that makes a difference is the consistency and persistency of your actions. So my whole book about life is about how do you change your game to serve the life that you want without complaint. A lot of people out there will complain about something. You give them a toolkit to start to change, and their opinion gets in the way. Their story gets in the way. They're not even willing to expose themselves to an opportunity. So that's essentially what my book's about. So then I say, okay, well, and going back to what I said earlier, is how do you change your game? The way you change your game is knowing your potential. But potential is unleashing your performance, which is performance minus interference. So what's your interference? 9 times out of 10, it's the inner game. And most people feel, well, no, my interference means I can't do what I would do because I haven't got enough money. Okay, how much you need? I need £100,000. Okay, right, and I haven't got it. So no wonder I can't follow my dream or do that thing. Okay, have you explored all the ways you could get that for £100,000? And they go into the story. So the story prevents them exploring. Have you considered loans? Have you considered raising finance? Have you considered asking friends and family? Have you considered starting a side hustle? And they come up with a story. So if they get rid of their story, they can consider these things. It means they haven't. So their interference is not they haven't got money, it's their mindset around it. Does that make sense? Because they haven't explored the game plan. My background's in sports psychology, as I said earlier. Sport is very unique in terms of we know what success looks like. In football, it's more goals. That's the only metric that matters. In cricket, runs, wickets. In golf, fewer shots, right? Very simple. So in sport, in the changing room, they're not sitting there saying, guys, what do we need to do? We'll score more goals. No shit, Sherlock. You know that. What the conversation is about is the game plan, right? So they know what success looks like. In life, in business, we don't always know what success looks like, right? What the success, is it a certain revenue amount? Is it a number of customers? Whatever it is then forget, once you know what success is, forget about it. Every day, your focus needs to be on the game plan. Is the thing we're doing today contributing towards the game plan? And then the outer game is, are we consistent? Are we going to, I tried it. I tried everything. You tried everything? Really? No, I don't think so. You tried a few things, didn't work, and then you think nothing works for me. So it's understanding that. So the book is about the way you change your game is knowing that the game is about 3 games: the inner game, the game plan, and the outer game. The sequel to that was called Play Your Game. So once you change your game, you go out there, this works. So some things work. Like you started your business, some things work, but then you've got roadblocks. Why didn't this work? Why didn't that? Is it to do with me? Am I not good enough? Or is it the opportunity or not enough money? And the second game is called Play Your Game. So now you're out there playing the game. Guess what? You're going to fail. Right? You're going to come across resistance. You're going to come across... So the Play Your Game is how do you respond now to your adversity? How do you respond to... You had some success, but something's knocked you over. And you think, I wasn't that good, was I? I thought I was really good. I thought I got this sussed. All of a sudden, bang, got another one. So Play Your Game is about how do you stay playing your A game out there. Like in sport. You like football? What do you like? What's your game?
Yeah, football.
Which is sport?
Chelsea.
Look
now. We're going to win the league 6-2 at the weekend.
The thing about Chelsea, they know when it's recording. The thing about Chelsea, right? From the outside, it looks like a flipping basket case. Yeah. It's buying every player, 10 people for every position. There's no
10-year contract,
right?
Isn't it?
10-year contract. So from the outside, we don't know their game plan. From the outside, right? Inside, you would hope they do. They haven't either communicated well or based on football convention, it looks completely alien to what other clubs do, correct?
Yeah, it's actually smart if you actually see what the broken down strategy is. It's actually clever.
If you look at that. Yeah. Now, the only metric that matters, I guarantee this, right? As a Chelsea supporter, if they start winning games, nothing else matters. Yeah, you won't give a toss whether it's 10-year contracts, you've got 5 people who are wingers, it doesn't really matter, right? Yeah. When they don't winning, the strategy's wrong, 10-year contracts, shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, right? So when you think about sport in that respect, the only metric, like I support Tottenham, right? We've got everything right, except winning. Fucking hell. Right, we've got the best stadium, we've got the best hospitality, we've got concerts coming, we've got everything right. There was a report last week, Tottenham was the best run club. Yeah, but we've got no trophies. Yeah. So from a footballing point of view, whatever, right? Jog on, do whatever. It doesn't really matter because that's the metric that the fans care about. Mm-hmm. But in the boardroom, there's other metrics that also need to take in consideration. So it's knowing what success looks right.
Football's fickle as well, isn't it? It's like just win a couple of games and it's all good. Yeah. Or start the season like Palace. On Palace, we started the season. The end of the season, we did. I think we did the top in the last 10 games. If it was that, we would finish 3rd or whatever. And then we lost the last
you Palace as well?
2 games, and now everyone's like, it's all gone out of the window. Like, but if we win the next couple of games, it'll be like, yes.
Exactly. And the thing about how that's a metaphor for life, right? Is we're only as good, or we measure based on the last success. Right? So you've won 6-2, you think you're going to win the league. We beat Everton 4-0, I was there, we're going to win the league, right? We're never going to win the league, but wait, do you get what I'm saying, right? So we're based on that. So we base our evidence on everything in the future based on that bit, right? Next game, we lose 3-0. Oh, it's all doom and gloom. This didn't work. The referee was rubbish, this and that, all the rest of it. So our measurement of success is sometimes not contextual, right? And this is where I say that it's take everything in balance. Celebrate success, but when things don't happen, yes, analyze, have a look at it, what didn't work, but don't beat yourself up, right? Everything is temporary, which is a good thing. Everything is temporary, which is the bad thing. You know?
It actually just reminded me of something as well. That's using that psychology, I guess, to actually implement into a business. I see Alex and Mosey talking about this in terms of retention rate. So because we base, if you do a annual subscription, let's say it was you boys marketing, or take Founders Club, for example, if it was monthly, your review, and you're coming to whether you renew the next month, etc., you'll review what happened the last month. Maybe, let's say your metric is winning business. If you've won no business, even if in January you won a load of business, you're highly more likely to say, no, I'm going to cancel it. Whereas if it's annual, you'll look back through the year and say, okay, yeah, I won £10,000 of business back in January, so it paid for itself, so it's definitely worth it. And he said, like, he was giving the data around it, the retention rates is, the biggest, what would you say, the biggest retention rate is when you're doing it on an annual basis, significantly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But there's loads of, you say that, and you're right, but there's loads of business models, annual subscription, memberships, whatever, they do monthly, right? And sometimes give both, whereby you can pay annually, and there's a little bit of a discount. If you pay monthly, there's a bit of a premium. So it swings and roundabouts. And that's why I say everything works out there. You got to say, based on my business model, who my target audience is, what business I have, what works for me, right? So in the case of Founders, the annual membership works, which is great. And then it's about utilizing that, you know. And that's the other thing about what I talk about is that everything works out there is it's not rocket science, right? And people fall into this, you know, in terms of life and stuff, where I've learned is, I have certain non-negotiables, right? And those non-negotiables are my anchors for life. And then everything goes from those non-negotiables. And I say to everybody, if something's not working in your life, create some non-negotiables in your life. That doesn't matter what happened, rain, sunshine, money, no money, you stick to those. And they're your foundations of your life. And then everything grows from there.
What's your non-negotiable?
So my 3 non-negotiables, number 1, I'm never late, ever, for anything, ever. Even when I say to clients, start this, I'm never late, and they hate it initially, and then they try and catch me out, right? They try and catch me out, and I say it won't happen. It just won't happen, because what it does, me saying I'm never late, creates less stress for me, because I know I'm organised. What did you say? Yes, you know, you DM me about this. Meet me at this time. I just said, tell me where to come and what time. I'll work it out, right? And he said, yeah, 1:22 at this station. I'll be there. Walker showed up. Yeah, that's it.
You're there.
It's up to me. So I then what I do then, knowing I've got to be there, I organise what happens a few hours before accordingly. So you're never going to get a situation where, oh, look, mate, listen, I had to do this, I've got to let it train, blah. Because if I'm committed to something around there, it's not about respect to you guys, it's respecting my time. So for me, committing to never being late creates less stress for me, because then I can organise. It's a non-negotiable. Number one. Second thing is, I do what I say what I do. So what that means is I say no a lot, right? I manage expectations of my team and myself, right? So if you say you wanted something from me, right? And in my head, I know I can get it to you on Thursday. I will say Monday, right? So, and if you say, yeah, Monday's fine, Monday's cool, whatever. If I get it to you Thursday, Friday, I'm a hero. But I don't see it. I know Monday, I'll get Monday right Monday. I'm setting myself up there. I've got no wriggle room. And I do it for everything. And my third non-negotiable is being in communication. So if the first 2 cannot happen, I am in communication. Right? I'm talking with you. So that's what I said to my teams as well, right? Is most of my team is remote. I don't have an office, right? I've got a team in India, 30, 40 people. I've got my PA who lives away from me, and I've got 5 other marketing people, bits and pieces, right? And we use Slack and WhatsApp. They're the 2 ways, and Notion. They're the 3 pieces of software we use to put all our projects and communicate on. And my non-negotiable is you manage everybody's expectations and you're in communication. right? As long as you do that, I don't care if something goes wrong, as long as it's not self-inflicted by not communicating or managing expectation. If something's gone wrong because internet went down or something outside control, I can tolerate that. But I won't tolerate if something going wrong because you didn't communicate, you weren't clean, or you didn't manage someone's expectation.
And so, social medias, where can people find you? I'm
very fortunate that I've got a unique name, Baiju Solanki, right? So if you Google me, I'm not like John Lewis, whereby you would find some sort of store. Right, very fortunate. So you'll see. So Instagram and LinkedIn is the two places I hang out most. But I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on X as it is now. So you can find me there. So
love that.
So, yeah.
No, it's been a great conversation. There's definitely, we could go on about so many different things.
Yeah,
definitely.
But no, it's been super useful. Thank you for
coming. Great, guys. Thank you so much.
Mate.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Good to have you on.
Top.